Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Julie, and on this channel, we talk about self improvement, becoming a better version of ourselves. And today, I'm going to talk about habits. Habits are really important because most of our day to day activities are habitual. It's about 80% of our day is made up of things we do on a regular basis. Now, the thing about habits, we don't necessarily think them through, we just do them. And so this is how we can get a lot done. Or if our habit isn't supporting us, it's something that can become more problematic because we do it without thought. Now, I'm going to reference two books in this particular video. The first one is Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he has a really excellent methodology on how to create those small habits that over time are beneficial. Now, another book that I would sort of reference as good habits forming is High Performance Habits, and I use things from both books in order to think about why I am doing what I am doing, what is important about it, and why is it something that is worth the time and energy it takes to develop that habit. So, the first thing is that habits are things that happen without thought. So, we get up in the morning, we check our email, we have breakfast. A lot of these things are not intentional, they just happen. And if we want to bring something new into the mix, I'm going to use the example of my intentional reading. At the beginning of the year, I wanted to bring in the habit of reading for 30 minutes a nonfiction book each day. And year to date, I've read 30 books. But the habit had to be started. I had to decide why I was going to do it and why was it important. So I looked at my day, and something I do without thought is I open my email in the morning and I respond to my emails. So what I did was when I finished my emails, I opened the book, or before I even opened my emails, I might open the book. I would get a few things sorted so that I could read with intention, and then I'd set a timer, 30 minutes. And I stick to that time, even if I'm interested in the book. I try not to overread. I am sticking to that 30 minutes a day because I want this to be a sustainable habit. Also, if I read for more than 30 minutes, I am going to spend an absolute fortune on books. And so, for my own pocket, I decided to limit it to 30 minutes. Now, as this habit developed, there were tweaks along the way. There were things that I found challenging. So, first of all, it took me a couple of weeks to remember to just make it into as soon as I do this, I do that. But once I did, I got into a really good routine. But then I realized I didn't just want to read the book, I wanted to capture the information as well. And so what I did was I did a bit of research. I found some really good YouTube channels on intentional reading, and I've created a system where I read my book and I highlight the important information. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, I have a 15-minute window that I've scheduled in that as well to actually then write about what I've read. I either capture the highlights or I capture my thoughts. And so all of my books are then available to me. I have a Notion template that I took from Ali Abdul. I found that, oh no, maybe it was Tom Frank. I'll have to put the link in the description. But I found those to be a particularly easy way of capturing this information. So I have all of my books listed in my Notion template, and so it has the book's name. They're all nonfiction. Who is the author? And I have a link to usually the author's book page. And then I have what my rating, or when I finished the book, and what my rating was. And I have 4 books on my life changing list. And then I have several books that are 5-star and other books that are 4-star. And I also have notes on all of those books. And this is a habit that is something that I find incredibly beneficial. It's something that supports a lot of my work. It also supports my own interest in different things. And so it's about how do I find those things that are going to benefit me? So, one of the things that I decided a few years ago was that I wanted to become a writer. And in order to become a writer, you need to write. So, how would I create a habit? And this is where I started to join groups. I tried to attach it to something else that I was already doing, that I looked at making it as easy as possible to do my writing. And the things that got in my way, I tried to make it harder. And so, this is the same with anything that is important in our lives. What we really need to do is identify an existing habit that we already have that is self supporting, that is useful, and then try to attach a habit onto that, something that is important to us. And then eventually, if you do it long enough, the habit becomes self sustaining. The rewards are there. Another habit that I've tried to form is doing what we call morning pages, and that is a download of our stream of consciousness thought in the morning. Now, I don't always do it in the morning because I run out of time, but I do try to do it during the day. And one of the reasons for this, one of the reasons why it's important to me, is that it helps me to calm my chaotic thoughts. And so this is one of those instances where I was doing it, it was working, I stopped doing it, and I realized why I was doing it. So I reinstituted it. Exercise is another one that benefits from this type of setting. I have in my calendar a time marked for exercise, and I have to make it a non negotiable. But the reward is that I then write in my calendar all of the things that I've achieved. And then I get a little buzz of satisfaction. The other thing is to make things as easy as possible so there's less excuses. I mentioned that I wanted to do this YouTube channel, and one of the things I was struggling with was just making the time to film, because when I'm not delivering webinars, I am not wearing makeup, I tend to dress very casually, and as a result, I just wasn't doing it. So then I have started to put a half hour of filming following a webinar. And this is so much easier. I have a list of the topics that I want to discuss. So I just have a look at my camera. Everything is now set up. I just could turn it all on, and away I go. I finished a webinar at 11 o'clock, and it's now 11:20. And this has been really easy. And now I can put it into my schedule of YouTubes that are going out, and I'm building a buffer. And by building that buffer, it means that if I do have some time off, I have a holiday, I've got those videos that will happen without me, because for the most part now, I'm shooting about 2 videos a week. And I can probably do a few more depending on my schedule, or I can do less if I'm feeling particularly exhausted. And so habits are something that when we are intentional about them, they can support us in achieving goals. Last year, when I did the NaNoWriMo, so National Novel Writing Month, which is in November, that is a big goal. You write 50,000 words in a month. But if you are already in the habit of doing something, then the 50,000 words is actually more of a stretch goal rather than a new habit. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend, if you're trying to create a habit of writing, of just going out and writing 3,000 words a day, although you can. And that's actually what I did the first time I wrote a novel. But it was a different time. It was in the midst of the pandemic. I'd watched all of Netflix. I had nothing to do. Work wasn't happening. And I thought, what is one thing I wanted to do, but always said I didn't have the time to do? And I went, oh, I've always wanted to write a novel. I looked around and I thought, well, why not? If not now, when? But getting started like that, I set myself a goal of just writing. And yesterday, or the previous video I was talking about, is it's not about perfection. Sometimes when we try to get into these goals, these new habits, our lack of progress or our lack of being good can hold us back. So when I set myself the goal of creating the writing habit, I didn't set a goal of being good. I set a goal of doing it. 3,000 words, even if I never used them, because it was just getting into that mindset. And so the more I write, the more habitual it becomes. And now it's a very rare day that I don't write anything, whether it's a morning page, evening page, 10 minutes on my novel. At the moment, it's October. So we're gearing up for Nano, and I'm creating a new story. So every night at 6 o'clock, I jump on a call and a writing group, and I take the time to work through. I'm working through the 90-Day Novelist. I've put all my books up in front of me, so if I refer to one, I can actually remember who wrote it, and I will pull it up in just a minute. But what I did was I started to the 90-day novel, Unlock the Story Within by Alan Watt. And so each day I go through and I write the information down that is the prompt for that day. And so in this way, I'm able to keep moving, to keep going, to keep challenging myself. And so I can call myself a writer because I write every day. Well, I write most days. And so whether the goal is a big goal, like writing a novel, or whether it's a smaller goal, the other thing I have started to try and habitualize is learning a new language. I decided a couple of weeks ago or a month ago that I wanted to learn Danish. My youngest son is learning Japanese, and my oldest son is learning Spanish. And I thought, well, hey, why don't I do it as well? And so I logged on to Duolingo. It sends me an email. I made a commitment to 10 minutes a day. And every day, if I haven't done it already, it sends me an email. And as soon as I get that email, I jump on straight away and I try to do it. And the reason for this is that it's amazing what you can do in 10 minutes. And 10 minutes is pretty easy to get started with. So if you can just say, I will just do this for 10 minutes, you'll quite often go longer. And if you are tired, at least you've done something. You've taken a step towards something. Because really, habits or goals are just habits with a deadline. So if you think about NaNoWriMo, it's taking the existing habit of writing every day and putting a word count around it. And then from that word count, and again, it's about sort of just doing a little bit, well, not a little bit, but a little bit more every day. So I've got the word counts starting on the 1st of November, and it's 1667. So every day I need to write 1,667 words towards my novel. And if I stick to that, I will be there by the end of the month. Now, quite often I run over. I run over the words. I do more than needed. And so every time I have finished Nano a little bit earlier. But even so, you can write a novel in a year in 10 minutes a day. And so think about even if you do exercise is another one. I need to do it, but I don't always. So I set myself the goal of, okay, well, maybe I don't feel like going for an hour's walk, but I can do 10 minutes. And then I get started. I'm listening to my audiobook. I'm feeling quite good. And I think I'll just keep going. And so this is something that we can utilize this innate sense of human beings do things by habit. It's innate, it's in there. And so by working on the habits that we have and challenging those that don't sustain us, we can create those healthy lifestyle choices, those healthy activities, and help us to sort of leave less space for the unhealthy ones. If you go for an hour's walk, it leaves less time to do something that maybe isn't as healthy. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, but always think about the whole point is it's self-awareness. what am I doing that is benefiting me? What am I doing that isn't benefiting me? And if I want to bring something else into it, why do I want to do it? What's important for me? What does it bring that I am missing in my life? And then how can I create that space for it to happen? How can I prioritize it? How can I lock it onto an existing behavior? How can I remove as many barriers to it as possible? How can I make it something I do without thought? And then once you've got it in there, and you've tweaked it around and it's happening, it's then about sustaining it. But it's much easier to sustain a habit than it is to create a new one or break an old one. So with that, we will finish today's discussion. Any thoughts? Please put them in the comments. I would definitely be reading them at some point if people start following me. But in the meantime, till the next video, have a lovely week. Bye bye.